Okay, so today we are reviewing this book, Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson, and this is a superhero sci-fi that I gave 5 stars to. It was a phenomenal read, and I just had so much fun reading it. If you have not seen my reviews before, basically I split them up into two sections. The first section is a spoiler-free discussion based on the review of this book, based on this book, I should say, and then the second part of the discussion is the spoiler version. So let's get into the spoiler-free version by giving you 3 pros and 3 cons to this book. Starting off with the first con of this book, which is the need for scientific wording. Oh my gosh, I can't say this enough. I actually don't mind sci-fi books. I had never read a sci-fi prior to this year, but all the sci-fis I've read this year have been great to read. But they all have one thing in common. Someone told the very first author of the very first sci-fi of certain terminology that they should use in place of normal everyday jargon, and that just carried on with everyone. So let's just say in a standard conversation between two people, someone says, "Oh my god." In this book, you don't say, "Oh my god," you say "sparks," which I get it. I get that it's more sciencey, but it's if I hear the word sparks or calamity or something like that again, seriously, not a fan of the the terms that are put in place of everyday jargon just for the sake that it's a sci-fi book. It just doesn't work for me. Just personal preference. So my second con about this book is that there was a lack of character building. Now, I am not a character. I'm not a reader that loves character building uh, books in character driven. I should say I'm not a reader that likes character loves. We're doing well, yeah. I'm not a reader that loves character driven books. But at the same time, I like to know at least a little bit about my character. I really, excuse me, don't remember much that I can tell you about any of these characters other than maybe their names, and that's it. Really not a lot to say. It is definitely plot driven. The plot's amazing, but I can't tell you much about the backstory of the characters. I can tell you a little bit about the main character, but can't really tell you much about the others, which is kind of sad. I just wish there was more character building going on in this book. My third con is, well, nothing else. I loved everything else about this book, and that's why I did receive 5 stars. So I can only give you 2 cons there. My first pro for this book is the protagonist. Yeah, I absolutely loved this guy. I am being mindful of the fact that this is spoiler free, but our protagonist's name is David, and David is he's just an amazing character. He is someone who wants to join, shall we say, the superhero team, which is known as the Reckoners, and he's just different to other protagonists that I've read who don't, well, in superheroes, and I haven't read a lot of superhero stuff at all, but who don't really seem to want to have to do certain things, but they're pushed in that direction. They kind of have to. Where David's kind of been leading towards his whole life. He's always wanted to be with the Reckoners, and yeah, it was just great. And yeah, again, trying to be mindful of not spoiling it for you guys. The second pro of this book is the feeling of battle mode throughout the book. Sanderson knows how to clearly state this is good, this is evil. They plan to fight really well without having to over-explain everything. He does this really, really well. He does it well in the Mistborn series for the books that I've read so far, and he certainly does it well in this one as well, where it's just very obvious. You're good, you're evil, you guys are going to fight at some point, let's get ready for it. And I really appreciated that. I appreciated really everything about this book, but that's one thing I'm pointing out. And the final thing, my final pro for this book is the fast pace. I really appreciated the fast pace of this book. I felt like I was flying alongside it all the way through with no lagging whatsoever, which, yeah, really, really, really appreciated that. Yes, sometimes it takes a while to get grounded into books, but I felt like I was grounded in this book really quickly. And then, excuse me, And then the pace just got quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, but I really appreciated it. I enjoyed running alongside these characters. I don't think it needed to be slow, and yeah, it made it all the more enjoyable. So I gave this book 5 stars. It is a superhero sci-fi by my favorite author, Brandon Sanderson. If you have not read this book and you want to, I do recommend it. Great read, fast read, enjoyable read. Nothing wrong with it really at all. If you do end up picking it up from thanks to my recommendation, please let me know what you thought in the comments below. But we are going to move over now to the spoiler section, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about this book in a spoilery way. So I'm going to leave that there. If you guys aren't following me over to the spoilery section, I completely understand, and I'm letting you go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video. I post videos every Monday, Thursday, and Sunday, and I'll see you then. Happy reading. For the rest of you, we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so it's time to talk about the spoiler version of this book. This book, Steelheart. Let's talk about the plot a little bit, shall we? So this book revolves around David, who is the protagonist. Basically, one day in chapter 1, basically, David and his father have gone to a bank to get a loan for something, and then they are held up at gunpoint, everyone in the bank, and before long, the evil guy, Steelheart, comes in and basically, he ends up killing a lot of people. And David's father tries to play the hero and tries to kill Steelheart. He shoots Steelheart with his gun, which grazes Steelheart, but it does not kill him. Now, this is very important because Steelheart is such an epic supervillain that there's next to nothing that can harm him that anyone's aware of, and yet for some reason, David's father's gun can harm him. So anyway, he gets a little grazed, but he's more angry than anything else, and he takes his anger out on anyone that he can see, including, of course, David's father, who he does kill, but David somehow remains alive and makes it out of the bank alive. He spends the rest of his life trying to research as much as he can, not only about Steelheart, but about the other evil villains that are in this world, excuse me, who are called epics. And while it doesn't take long to get to present day, because the thing at the bank happened a while ago, but while it doesn't take long to get to present day, for the remainder of his life post him leaving the bank, David does exactly that. He spends all of the remainder of his life up to the point where we start chapter 2 or 3, wherever it is. All the rest of his life, he is researching epics and everything about them, their strengths, their weaknesses, how they're defeated, if any of them are killed, how they were killed. Then he starts stumbling upon this group of rebels, I guess, against these epics, who are called the Reckoners, and he loves them and he wants to learn more about them. So one day he finds out that there is something that's going to go down between an epic and the Reckoners, so he goes down to watch, not only to take notes, but he feels he's ready to actually join them, so he's going to try and see if that's going to happen. It doesn't exactly go how he planned. There are a few issues that occur in this little mini battle that's going on, but eventually, somehow, he finds his way into the group by telling them, I have a ton of information, all this stuff that I know, some of these things that you guys don't even know, which I loved that really made me happy to know that we have a protagonist who knows more than this group who have been fighting for so long. And yeah, eventually they find a way to get back to David's place to gather up all of the records that he's been making about epics and take it back to their base of operation. And they're able to use that to try and work out a strategy to try and kill Steelheart. There are a lot of other things that do occur along the way, but the primary objective to this story is to kill Steelheart. Eventually, they set up a battle by inviting Steelheart to meet them, the Reckoners and Steelheart, at this, I think it's like a football ground or something like that, and eventually Steelheart dies. It takes a very long time, but eventually he dies, and yeah, that's basically the conclusion of the story. I don't want to say too much else because I don't think there's too much else that really needs to be said. That's the main thread of the plot of the story. I loved every moment of this book. I loved I love the writing style. I think Brandon Sanderson's writing style, not only is it so easy to read, but his plots that I've read so far, which include not only this book, but Mistborn: The Final Empire and Mistborn: The Well of Ascension, and now I've now read this book. They're not only so easy to read, but they are very much engaging. And you just want to keep reading. I felt like I was flying through this book. It was so easy to read, but yet, as I did say just a moment ago, so very engaging. Every single scene, there's something going on that's got me so intrigued. And that's not the case with most of the books I read, but it certainly was with this one. I had a lot of love for David as a protagonist. I think his passion for wanting to be with the Reckoners, all the research that he did, and when he's finally with them, it just felt like he was always meant to be with them. And I loved his passion. I loved the French guy, and I don't for the life of me remember his name, but the French guy, I thought he was pretty cool too. Then there is Tia, I believe her name is, which she's the nerdy one, and I'm saying that with a lot of love because I loved her. And then of course there is Megan, or Megan, however you say her name, and she's kind of like the love interest for David. That was interesting, and the whole ending that occurred with Megan and how it turns out she's an epic and all this kind of stuff, that took a very big turn, and it was fine. In the end, I appreciated it, but I walked away from this book, and my very first thought was, oh my god, what is book 2 called? Because I need to read book 2 and I need to read it now. So I rang up the lovely people at my local bookstore who are so amazing. Oh my god. So this bookstore is maybe about a 10-15 minute drive away from where I live, and if we weren't going through COVID-19 right now, which is kind of what we have to deal with, we're in lockdown, I would just, go up to my local bookstore, have a bit of a browse and purchase some books, but we can't do that right now because we're in lockdown. So you can order from their company online, but then the books have to come from the warehouse and be delivered, and it takes a couple of weeks to be delivered. NASA, my wonderful bookstore that's 15 minutes down the road, have a little deal that they've made with me that they will deliver directly to me, which is absolutely incredible. So I will order from them at some point during the day, and at around about 5:30 p.m. that day, they'll drop the books off to me, which is so cool. So I'll talk more about that in my May TBR because I have so many books from my May TBR from them already. It's so amazing. So I spoke to them. The reason I'm talking about that is because I spoke to these lovely people about the second book in this series, Fireflight or Firefight, one of the two, and they said they can get it in, but they don't have it in the store at the moment. So they've put it on order for me, and the moment it comes in, they will deliver it to me, which is really nice of them. But unfortunately, they have said it's going to take a couple of weeks, and so therefore it's most likely not going to be on my May TBR, but I'm going to do everything I can to put it on my June TBR because despite the fact that I'm not really a superhero fan, I don't really like Marvel comics or Marvel comic movies or anything like that. It's just not my cup of tea. I loved this book. I just found it fascinating from beginning to end, and it was just so entertaining that I need to read book 2. Yes, I think it kind of goes without saying that Brandon Sanderson's always going to produce a good book for me because he does. I feel like this guy has written books personally for me because each and every one of them speak to me. Each and every one of them are so absolutely entertaining from start to end. The writing style is so easy to read. There's just so many great prompts that I can give to compliments, I should say, that I can give to Brandon Sanderson. But I didn't know how I would feel about this book once I worked out after reading chapter 1 that it was a superhero story. I thought, maybe it's not going to be for me. We'll see how we go. But hey, Brandon Sanderson struck gold again, and it was just absolutely amazing. So I'll definitely be adding Firefight or Fireflight, whatever it's called, number 2 in the Reckoners series. This is number 1 in the Reckoners series to I believe my June TBR. It is ordered. It's on the way. We'll see how we go. But this was just a lot of fun, and I absolutely recommend it. If you are a fan of superhero stories, you will love this. If you're a fan of sci-fi, you will love this. If you're a fan of Brandon Sanderson, you will love this because You can tell it's been written by Brandon Sanderson because that's how good it is. So yeah, nothing but really a gushing rave review from me because this was just so much fun from start to end. That's where I'm going to leave it. So this was my review on Brandon Sanderson's Steelheart. If you have any comments, thoughts, and or questions, please do let me know in the comments section below. I'm wishing you all peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Monday, Thursday, and Sunday, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Mwah! Happy reading. Bye, guys. Bye.